Hey guys, today we're going to be installing this stove jack, silicone rubber stove jack here in my Clam C890 ice fishing shelter. We're using a New Way propane stove with a 3-inch, these have a 3-inch pipe, and I have left some things in here to show you where I'm putting the stove and why, and how I'm going to locate the stove jack on the roof of the shelter. So the pipe is going to just run straight up like this to the stove jack, which will be like this, and I'm going to put a damper in the pipe right about here. So I'll have all this pipe that will give off heat in addition to the stove. So I've chosen to put the stove here because I have this chair that I like to sit in and look out the door, use this shelter as a warm place to relax in bad weather. It'll be nice to have the stove next to me, and yet there is still room to come in out of the shelter, get past the chair. I'll have like a sleeping pad somewhere in here, maybe a table. So that'll work really well. And then another little thing, I don't know if you can see this. This is a extendable pole here that I use on real windy days. You probably can't see the roof of the shelter, but you know how the roof of these pop-up shelters or these hub houses pops up. And I use this pole on real windy days to keep it from popping back down. So you can see the pole sitting here. It still clears the chair. I can still walk past the stove. So in terms of measurements and distances from the tent, I have chosen to put this, I'm measuring from the top of the stove, the back top of the stove, to the first place the tape measure touches the shelter, and it is 20 inches. I did that on purpose. This is more than enough space between the stove and the shelter. But then the thing that happens, you get up here, near the roof of the shelter, so roughly here, it is less than 20 inches from here out. It's more like 14 inches. So that's why I've chosen to put the stove out a little farther, so that my pipe doesn't end up too close to the shelter. So what I have here, this is just a strap with the metal buckles on the end that's used to hold this ice fishing pop-up together, so there's enough of a weight, and I can take, I've got this yellow paint marker here, yellow paint marker, and I have the stove where I want it, so I'm just going to let gravity show me where I want this. I'm just using this like a plumb bob. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to be close. So there, that's more or less centered on the stovepipe outlet. Here we are on the roof of the shelter, so that's going to be the middle of the stove jack. Now, here is the stove jack. So there's my yellow paint mark right there. Make sure my marker's putting out some good paint. Okay, because I'm going to mark the holes now. So I'm going to center the rubber, 3-inch rubber stove jack over that paint mark, and then I'm going to mark these holes around the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's the 6 holes. Next, I will show you how to create these holes through the fabric.